Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel, Some Afterthoughts, where I talk about things that I care about or things that I'm interested in. And today we're going to be talking about Mindy Kaling and Lang Fisher's new Netflix show, Never Have I Ever. So the show basically follows the life of an Indian American teenager in her sophomore year at high school, and it's meant to be loosely based on Mindy Kaling's own life as well. So the first thing I want to talk about is the diversity of the cast. So going into this show, I kind of knew that there was going to be a very diverse cast because of the general premise of the show being based on an Indian American family, but I was pleasantly surprised by how diverse the rest of the cast was. So for instance, we have Paxton, the male lead. The actor is actually Japanese American, and I liked how they weaved that into the storyline of Paxton, the character, as well. They were also inclusive of all body types, and Paxton's sister has a disability on the show, and they used an actress with Down syndrome, so that was really good in terms of inclusivity. And then they also had Kamala's boyfriend being Southeast Asian, and I really enjoyed seeing a Southeast Asian male not being used as just a nerdy or geeky type trope, and so that was really good to see in terms of just being more diverse in general. Alright, so the next thing I want to talk about is the dialogue. For the most part, I found Darby, the main character's dialogue, to be quite embarrassing and cringe at times, but when I think about it, it could be quite age appropriate for 15 and 16-year-olds and how they tend to speak. It could also be the writer's commentary on teenagers and how when we were their age we said a lot of cringy or embarrassing things as well, so it's quite normal. Or it could just be the writers trying to capture teen lingo at the moment and failing terribly. So one example of that would definitely be in, I think, the first or second episode where they were having dinner as a family and Darby is talking to her mum and she's asking for a high five and she goes up top, and I thought that was really cringeworthy. And I think the show tries to replicate a lot of current teen culture. So they had TikTok dances, phrases such as thirst trap, and then they had a lot of pop culture references such as Riverdale, BTS, and then also like Insta Story and stuff like that. So the next thing I want to talk about is the narration. So throughout the TV show, there is voiceover narration by John McEnroe, and I knew it was John McEnroe as soon as he started speaking because he has a very distinct voice, and as a tennis fan I really appreciated it. I thought how he was incorporated into the whole TV show and how his storyline ended up weaving with certain characters as well was really interesting. I think I can understand how some people might find his narration to be quite annoying because he's always interjecting and kind of narrating every single action that Darby is doing, and in some aspects that can be quite irritating as a viewer. For the most part I didn't find that too bad, mainly because I've watched other shows that have done it as well, like such as Jane the Virgin, but I can definitely understand how it can be seen as a bit annoying. There was one episode though, I think episode 6, where John McEnroe was switched out for Adam Sandberg, and then Adam Sandberg narrated that entire episode, and that was the same episode that was focusing on Ben's storyline. And I thought in a way it was weird to have 9 episodes out of the 10 being narrated by John McEnroe and then just have 1 episode narrated by Andy Samberg. It was different, a bit out of place, but I didn't really mind it too much. Continuing on about the narration, episode 6 was also the one where it flipped. Instead of focusing on Darby, it focused on Ben, and it felt out of place in a way. There was only one episode that focused on a different character's storyline and showed their perspective, and I understand why they had to do that, to show the audience Ben's backstory and show why he should be sympathized for. It just felt a bit out of place to have 9 episodes about Darby and then 1 about Ben. I think if they split it to have more episodes focusing on different characters and their own perspectives as well, that would have meshed better instead of being a bit jarring to have all 9 on Darby and then 1 on Ben. Speaking of characters and actors and actresses, I felt the actor for Paxton looked way too old to be in high school, and I did some research and he's actually 29 years old. I don't think he looked appropriate to be playing a 16 or 17-year-old in high school. The actress who plays Darby is 18 years old, so she fit in really well, and Ben also fit in really well as another sophomore. So there was actually one scene where Kamal is watching Riverdale and makes a comment to Darby about how all the actors and actresses in Riverdale and look way older than they are for high schoolers and students. And so having Paxton as a character who also looks very old and doesn't fit in the high school scenery, I think it was purposely being ironic and kind of making a jab or making fun of other shows such as Riverdale who use characters who aren't age appropriate. So I thought that the show was really light, fun, and it made you feel good watching it. However, I don't think it necessarily was extraordinary in terms of storyline because there were a lot of cliches in terms of plots. So we had the very cliche friends fighting with each other and then making up at the end. We also had the cliche of the child feeling neglected by his parents because they were always working or not spending time with him. So in terms of storyline, I don't think it's extraordinary or anything original. However, I think that what the show does in terms of being culturally diverse and inclusive is something that's different and should be praised for, because it's not every day that you see a hit show representing a culture that is not white widely represented in Western media. There was one aspect of the TV show that I thought was really important, and that was a commentary on seeking professional help for your mental health. So in the show, Darby's mother says something like, "I don't believe in therapy, it's for white people." And I think that echoes the sentiment of a lot of Asian families where they don't believe in the idea of seeking help for your mental health, and they don't see mental health issues as a real problem. And so I'm glad that the show sheds light on that and raises awareness to show that it's a really serious issue and it shouldn't just be downplayed purely because it's an illness that isn't visible. And I thought that was really ironic how Darby's mom said that, because she's a dermatologist on the show, and there were scenes where she talks about students coming to her with problems such as having pimples and stuff like that, which when you compare it to other issues such as mental health, it's quite ironic how she downplays the significance of seeking help for mental health issues as opposed to seeking help for pimples and skin problems. The next thing I want to talk about is the show in general. If you know Mindy Kaling's work, you would see that Mindy Kaling's DNA is all over this show. There are heaps and heaps of pop culture references such as Zayn and Gigi, about Lisa Vanderpump, Bella Hadid and Dior, Marie Kondoing her life. So there are heaps and heaps of pop culture references, which is very reminiscent of characters and shows that Mindy Kaling has played or created, such as Minnie Lahiri from the Minnie Project and also Kelly Kapoor from The Office. So if you liked any of those characters in those shows, you would definitely like this show because of all the pop culture references that it makes. So the last thing I want to talk about is a prospect for a second season. Personally, I don't want a season 2, mainly because I liked how the first season ended. It felt very conclusive. All the important loose ends were tied up in that last episode, and the way that season 1 ended, it didn't really leave an opening for season 2 because it felt so conclusive that having a season 2 would feel almost forced. And I don't want it to end up like shows such as 13 Reasons Why, where Netflix follows the success and pushes out a second season that doesn't live up to the quality of that first season, and then it just goes downhill from there. So I would much rather the show be conclusive and just one season and have it great than to have other seasons going forward and then just lose momentum and not as great as that first initial season. In saying that though, the show is widely successful. I think it's like number 1 or 2 on Netflix list around the world, and so it shows that there is a need for TV shows to be more inclusive and diverse, and that there is a market for it, and there are people and audiences who are willing to watch shows about other different cultures, other people from diverse backgrounds and stuff. And so although I don't want a second season of this show in particular, I would love to see in Western entertainment be more inclusive and have other shows about other cultures and other people from different backgrounds. I would love to see a Western TV show about Vietnamese culture or about French culture, just a variety of different cultures that we don't tend to always see in a lot of the TV shows that are on screen nowadays. Anyways, that's my review of the TV show Never Have I Ever by Mindy Kaling and Lang Fisher. I really hope you enjoyed that video. If you did, make sure you subscribe to this channel and give it a thumbs up and leave a comment about a comment underneath talking about what you liked about it or whatever, and I will see you in my next video. Alright, bye guys.